Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. We're going to get started in a couple of minutes here. I'm just going to admit people to the meeting and then we'll start at 11:02. Thanks so much. I'll be back. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Jane Stevens. I'm the training manager here at Zolo, and today we're talking about working with sellers. So right now, if you have a listing, it will probably go into multiple offers. So we're going to talk about everything before that happens. So what happens during the initial conversation that you have with a potential seller, the listing presentation, what to do after that initial conversation and before the listing presentation, what to do at the listing presentation. So lots to cover. If you guys have questions, definitely please let me know. And then of course, we'll also be talking about how to handle offers. We won't specifically get into multiples. That is a whole other webinar in itself. So we can definitely line that up for an upcoming webinar because that seems to be the case. I'm getting messages from agents saying that they had 30 some offers in Kitchener. I know yesterday there was an offer presentation that went to 29 in Barrie, 29 offers. So absolutely crazy. I'm sure you guys are seeing that as well. So definitely good to be on the listing side right now. All right, so let's talk about it. As I said, we will be talking about the CMA, so how to prepare one, how to look for comparables. We'll be talking about how to do the listing presentation, what you should be bringing with you. We'll definitely be talking about marketing the property. And then of course, we'll talk about offers. We won't talk too much about multiple offers, as I said, but we will do that in an upcoming webinar. All right, let's get started. So definitely your initial conversation with a seller is likely going to go like this. You want to ask some questions. And first of all, before we talk about that conversation, how are you finding these sellers? So yes, sometimes we do get leads into the Zolo CRM that they're looking to sell a property, but oftentimes this will happen as a result of your conversation with buyers. So you're probably out doing showings, you have a buyer lead, and then during the conversation that you're having with them, you realize that they have a property, maybe two, that they need to sell in order to purchase this property. So at that point, definitely having a conversation with them, probably about what you should do first. Should you list first and sell, or should you find, a property first? So definitely it depends on what's happening in the market. So that answer will always change. But what won't change is the actual conversation you're having with them about their property. So of course you want to find out what their address is. And a good question to ask is whether or not it has been listed before on MLS. If it has been listed, then you'll be able to look up quite a bit of information. You'll be able to look at a previous listing, take a look at how many bedrooms, square feet, you'll have some information there. But if it hasn't been listed on MLS, then you're going to want to ask all of those questions. Either way, whether or not it's been listed before on MLS, you definitely want to find out if they have done any improvements to the property since they moved in. So since they purchased the property, have they done any renovations? Did they remodel the kitchen? Did they add an extension? So all of those things will add value. Also, having said that, if they haven't done anything to the property and they've been there for 20 some years, then, that's something to consider as well when you're looking at listing it, right? And what you're going to list it for. So asking them what they have in mind in terms of price is a really good way to gauge where they're at. So oftentimes they'll just, reply to that question with, well, that's why we need you. We want you to come in and give us your opinion, but still press a little bit to find out where they're at in terms of price. So ask them if they know of a neighbor who just sold and what they think of that price. As soon as you ask them about their neighbors, they'll probably get a bit chatty. So they might say, yeah, our neighbor sold for 1.3, but it's not as nice as ours. So then already you know that they have an expectation of more than 1.3. So if that's the case, hopefully when you go and do your comparables, you can support that, right? So definitely just knowing where they are and then asking them if they're meeting with other agents, because if they are, that's good to know. You can ask them if you might be last to present. And the reason for that is you might be able to say in that listing presentation, if they've met with other agents before, if there was something that they liked from another presentation or something else that was being offered to them by another realtor that maybe you can include with your listing. And sometimes it could be as simple as, well, there was another realtor who said that they were going to do drone photography, or there was another realtor who said that they were going to create a unique URL with the address of our property. That's definitely something you can do as well. And if you didn't have it in your presentation, that's why it's nice to go last, just so you know what you're up against, and you can also offer whatever else they liked about somebody else. And then hopefully they choose you overall. So definitely making sure that you are speaking to all of the decision makers. So in that initial conversation, asking them about their property. This is obviously before you actually attend the home. So schedule an appointment to meet with them in their home, take a look at the property, and make sure that when you arrive that all the decision makers will be present. So you definitely want to make sure that the owners will be there. So ask them the question when they're available, and in between this conversation and the actual listing presentation, there's lots that happen. So first of all, let's verify who the owners are. So you'll want to end that initial conversation. So you'll want to end that phone call, or you'll leave that showing appointment, having this conversation with now potential sellers. So go ahead and log into your Treb system, and you want to use Geo Warehouse just to verify who the owners are. So going into Geo Warehouse, you'll see it on the sidebar menu right in Treb. And if you click on that, there's a bunch of different ways that you can search for a property. You can search for a property using the address. You can search by the owner's name. If you have the PIN number, which you probably won't have at this point, you can search for it that way as well. But initially, search for it by the address, because they've given you their address. And if it's a condo, sometimes it's trickier to find. So maybe you can search them by their name. So hopefully it pops up, you're able to take a look at the property report, and you'll be able to see the owner's names right there. So, if you only spoke to one individual, but it's a husband and wife who own the property, then again, as I said, just make sure that they're both present when you attend the listing presentation, because the goal of the listing presentation will be to get that listing agreement signed. So you definitely want to have all the decision makers, both owners there, so they can both sign it, and you can go ahead and prepare the property before listing it. So we're going to talk about all of that today. All right, so comps, that's going to be the next step in preparing for your listing presentation. So you're going to want to look up comparable properties that have sold. So let's jump in. And once again, we're still in Geo Warehouse. This is where you were to look up the owner's names. And you will see that there is a button here called comparables. So you could very simply click on that, and Geo Warehouse will pull up properties that are similar to this one that have recently sold. Now, the reason why I'm going to suggest not using this is because, as you can see here, it does generate a list for you, which is nice. It's useful to see what the properties have sold for, but you're not actually able to look at the photos. So it's much better to look for comparables in your MLS system, so within Treb, and then that way you can actually compare apples to apples, right? You want to be able to compare a property that does have a renovated kitchen with your upcoming listing, is if yours also has a renovated kitchen. So this list, may be useful just to see price point, but this is not something that you would want to just email to your clients. It doesn't give you enough information. You're not able to view the pictures and really compare the properties side by side. But just know that this is here and this exists. So it does give you sort of an average price point, gives you some information about where you might be in listing this. But as I said, definitely jumping into MLS and actually searching for comparables manually. So the way you do that, again, this is your TREB screen, and you've got the search button over here on the menu bar. So clicking on search will then take you to this page, as I'm sure you guys know. And so making sure that you are comparing, either freehold properties or condos. We're going to use condos as the example here because there's oftentimes quite a few condos to look at. So especially if it's a large building. So we're going to go ahead and assume that we have a condo as a potential listing. So you would go ahead and click on residential condo. Of course, you're going to make sure that it's unavailable and that it recently sold. So those are the options that you're going to select. And then go ahead and you'll be able to enter in a little bit more criteria. So entering in the street number, and if there's multiple buildings, sometimes there's 3 or 4 buildings, and they might be addressed 5220, 5240, 5260. So if that's the case, go ahead and just put in the street number as a range from 5200 to 5300, and you know that it's on Dundas Street. So go ahead and enter that so that you pull all of the comparables from that set of buildings. Of course, you're not going to put any information here for price because that's what we're trying to determine. But then go ahead and definitely last status, you want to select sold. And then again, you want to make sure that you're comparing apples to apples and not apples to oranges. So if you have a 1-bedroom and den that's coming up, then enter in 1 bedroom plus 1. If it's a 2-bedroom, then enter in 2 bedrooms, just so that, again, your list is minimized. But entering the property characteristics will result in a long list. As I said, if it's a condo, definitely you'll see quite a few comparables that have recently sold. So taking a look and sorting them by date so that you have the most recently sold properties listed at the top. And then you can go ahead and select the ones that you think are going to apply. So in this case, you can see that I didn't put in the 1 bedrooms. I left the bedrooms blank. So there's a whole bunch of results. So because of that, you'll have to go ahead and just select the ones that are applicable. So the 1+1 or the 1 bedrooms, and these ones just sold, in the last couple of months. So you want to at least have 3 comparables. So select the 3 comparables that you want to include in your CMA. And what you can do from here from TREB is just add it to a listing cart. So I don't know if you've used that feature before, but this is just a bit of a time-saving tool so that you don't have to recreate this search if you're looking for these comparable properties again. So go ahead and select on the cart up here at the top. And again, that will just create a listing cart for you so that you can easily refer back to these comparables. Create your listing cart with the name of your client and go ahead and save that. So now you'll be able to pull up your listing cart. Again, over here on the sidebar, there's a listing cart in the menu. And this will pull up the 3 properties that you saved. So it's also a good tool to use because you're going to be pulling these comparables into your CMA. So there's a couple of ways that you can prepare a CMA right here within the TREB system. So you have the CMA button right here, and then you also have top CMA just above it. So there's 2 options that you can use. I'm going to start with showing you the CMA option, but I'm going to recommend the top CMA, and you'll see why. They're very different. The CMA option, so this one right here, that just generates a PDF and it pulls in all of the comparable properties, all of the information, whereas the top CMA is a little bit more interactive. It's a lot more interactive. It's something that you can email to your client. It's something that you can pull up on your computer while you're doing your listing presentation, and you can flip through all of the photos. So there's a big difference, but unfortunately, there's also a difference in price. The CMA option is free, and top CMA, I believe, is around $30 a month. So just know that, but it is definitely worth the money. I'll show you the differences again, but the top CMA also, as I said, it does provide a free trial. So if you wanted to give that a try, that's available to you as well. All right, so if you click on the CMA button, so we'll start with the free version, this is the screen that comes up. So it says, welcome to CMA, and you can simply click on the add button to start a new CMA. So once you do that, you'll see that you're prompted to follow these tabs up at the top, or you can just scroll down and you'll see all of these sections covered. So of course, you want to be entering the client's name, their address. So there's going to be a lot of information. If it was previously listed on MLS, you can add it as the subject property. There's going to be information about you already auto-populated. You can customize a title page and a cover letter. And then of course you can pull in the comparables from your listing cart. So again, that's why it's a good idea to do, because when you click on comparables up at the top, it takes you to this section here. And yes, you can search for listings. You can add the MLS numbers manually, but again, add them from your listing cart. You've already done the work. You were already searching for the listings. You've already saved it. So just use that listing cart again as a time-saving tool. So that would populate all of the listings that you saved into your listing cart, and it would generate, as I said, a pretty bland PDF report. So this is what you would get. And again, if you're in competition, you know that there are other realtors going for the same listing, then, imagine if they used the free CMA report from Treb and you were showing up with the same thing. How are you differentiating yourself? So again, that's why I do recommend the top CMA, and I'll show that to you next. Just because this one, as I said, it's a static PDF. So you do have the listings, your comparables will be there, but you won't be able to look at all of the photos for each listing. And really that's so important. Yes, you may have 2 one-bedroom condos, but maybe one has, upgraded flooring while the other one has carpet. You really need to know that when you're pricing your upcoming listing. So the CMA is there. It's a free version, but again, let's talk about that top CMA, because that one is a more upgraded version. Again, yes, unfortunately, it does cost a little bit of money, but clicking on top CMA will take you to this more interactive, and you can see already it looks a lot better. You can enter in the address of the property. It should auto-populate some information here. Again, if it has been listed before on MLS, if not, then you can enter that manually. Again, you can add the comparables here, and literally you just go and you generate the report. So I'll show you a screenshot of that. You do have the option of downloading it as a PDF, and it's quite a nice PDF, and it does show the photos for each of the properties. But what's nice about this is you can share the report by email. So maybe this is something that, again, while you're at your listing presentation, you don't want to send this before the listing presentation. You want to keep this to yourself and share it with them in person. And then afterwards, you can email it to them if they want a copy as well. But you can print out the PDF so you have something printed out that you can share as well. And we'll talk about, why you may want to present like a binder, or why you may want to present on your laptop. So it really comes down to, your clients, your potential sellers, and their style, and, whether they're more formal or whether they're more casual. So just be prepared. We'll talk about that in a minute here. All right. So let's talk about after that initial phone conversation that you had and before the meeting. So we've just talked about a little bit about preparing for the meeting, but what are you going to say or do with the client in between that initial conversation that you had and the listing presentation? And the answer is oftentimes nothing. Realtors will just wait for that listing presentation, and they will go at that point present what materials they have to present. But there's an opportunity here, I think, to again set yourself apart. So after that initial call and before the meeting, why not send them a pre-listing package? So let's just take a look at a checklist here of what you might want to include as part of an email. So again, this is between that initial conversation that you had. You've already done some research on the property, but this is before you're going to present that information and before you meet with them at their home. So you may want to tell them a little bit more about yourself. So maybe you have a website that has an About You page. So maybe you send that in your email. Maybe you send them some examples of homes that you've recently sold. If you're brand new to real estate, don't worry about it. You can have testimonials from past clients. These could be even lease deals that you did. So, again, if you're brand new, don't worry about including this. There's other things that you can include, such as a marketing plan. So what is it that you're going to do in order to sell their home the quickest, right? Professional photos, staging, making calls to prospect for buyers, maybe door knocking the neighborhood, letting them know that you have an upcoming listing. So, even if you haven't done it before, you can have a plan, and you can share that plan with your sellers before you even meet them. So again, you're laying the groundwork here to set yourself apart from other agents. So definitely sharing a marketing plan with them. Also letting them know that you do have a vendor list, partnership with painters and handymen and whatever it is that you need to prepare the home, that just by working with you, not only do they have access to professionals, but maybe there's a discount involved there as well, right? Maybe you have a preferred painter, and make these connections. Even if you don't have a listing coming up right now, reach out to some stagers, let them know you're new, and you're anticipating having listings in the new year, and you want to align with other similar companies, so similar service providers. So yeah, again, stagers, photographers, reach out to them, but even get down to people who can fix holes on the wall, or paint a room a different color. So and having that available for your sellers to use as well. Maybe a checklist for preparing their home for sale. So maybe this is something that you can talk about. There's lots that you can find on the internet, maybe decluttering their home. You can have some useful articles like that maybe you want to share. Definitely you can share some local market data. You don't have to include all of this, but pick your favorites, and let them know what's happening right now in the market and what they can expect if they list. The great thing to end this with is a listing presentation task for them to do. So you're giving your sellers a little bit of homework. And what you're asking them to do is you're asking them to also prepare for the listing presentation. You're going to show up with some comparables, but it'd be really great if they could also have, maybe the seller's disclosure form prepared. Maybe you ask them to get a copy of their key, that you're going to need an extra copy of their key to put in that lockbox. Gathering copies of mortgage statements, whatever it is that they have. If you show up to that listing presentation and they have all of this ready, they're serious. So it's a good thing to ask them to do, because it'll definitely let you know how serious they are to list their home. All right. So this is something that also that you may want to include with your email. It may be something that you prepare, a seller's guide. We have one right now in the CRM. So under tools, you do have a seller's guide. It is a PDF that was created some time ago now. So the numbers are out of date. I think it still talks about how we have 2 million visitors a month to the Zolo website. And that is definitely higher now. I think we're at 11 million visitors. So that's definitely something you want to say in your listing presentation. But again, maybe send them a seller's guide beforehand. So this is something that you can send. And this is something that I created, again, trying to step up our game and not just be sending static PDFs. This is something that I created in a platform called Flip Snack. So basically it's a PDF that you upload, but they can flip through it like a magazine, right? So again, we're paperless agents. We can send them listing guides or listing presentations that look and feel like a brochure without having to actually even incur the cost of printing out the seller's guides. So this is something that you might want to create. And this is a sample that I created that I can send to you guys if you're interested, but it's a seller's guide. So there's lots that you can do with this. Dear future seller, congratulations on your decision to sell. I'm here to help. You can talk about what situations you've helped other people with before, if they're looking to upsize or downsize, or if they're relocating, or maybe they're first-time home buyers. If they're first-time home buyers, those are always great sellers to, not first-time home buyers, first-time sellers. So, yes, they bought their home, but they have never sold a home before. So that's, really exciting to work with, because again, you can explain the process and really walk them through. And this is something that can help you do that. So letting them know maybe a little bit about yourself. So you can put in a picture of you with your family, tell a story about who you are, what hobbies you like to do. So again, you're relating to people on a more personal level, and not just, I can list your home for X amount of commission, right? Make it personal, relationships over transactions. So definitely introduce yourself in this seller's guide. Let them know who it is that they're going to be working with. And then of course, here you want to talk about the Zolo website. Why would they choose you? And why would they choose your brokerage? So definitely talking to them about how Zolo is Canada's leading tech-powered brokerage. We have the #1 real estate app in Canada. Of course, 90% of home buyers now start their search online, and we have 11 million of those visitors per month looking at properties. So definitely a great place to have exposure. And when you get to the listing presentation, you can talk to them about the reverse buyer search and being featured on the site. But for now, just introducing them to the Zolo website and who we are, right? So you can find all MLS listings for sale across Canada on Zolo. So if somebody is thinking about, relocating from Vancouver to Toronto or vice versa, they can take a look at the Zolo website. So again, introducing yourself and introducing Zolo. You might want to take the opportunity here to let them know some terms, some definitions that they may want to know. Again, if they've already purchased a home, they're familiar with that end of things, but maybe not so familiar with the selling side. So you might want to include some definitions, some documents that they're going to have to be familiar with. So the listing agreement, the agreement of purchase and sale, the confirmation of co-op, and the working with a realtor. Another opportunity that you can take here is to attach these forms, these explain forms that are provided to us by Aurea. You can go onto their website, download the explain forms, and send it to them. You can send them the listing agreement beforehand so that they can take a look at it. And then that way you're kind of anticipating the objection that they may not want to sign it with you in person because they'd like an opportunity to review it. So take this opportunity here that you're sending them an email with information. This is your pre-listing package. Send them the listing agreement to review so that they're familiar with it when you ask them to sign it. All right. So multiple offers is definitely a thing right now. So you might want to include a section here where there are some tips for handling multiple offers, tips for sellers, finding out what their preferred closing date is, all of that stuff. How do they want to handle multiple offers? Do they want to hold off on receiving them? Do they want to, be notified of bully offers and consider those? So lots to talk about with multiple offers. So you might introduce that here for them, and definitely a conversation you want to have with them during the listing presentation. Again, seller's expenses, this is going to be good for them to know. And again, it depends on how in depth you do get into in your listing presentation, but you can definitely share with them some calculators on the Realtor.ca website. I know there are some there that are really useful in terms of, land transfer tax. So, you can point them in that direction to really figure out what it's going to cost. But there is a little worksheet here as well. That I've included that you can share with them. And again, this just, makes them think about these things. And then, that's the end of the Flip Snack. So it's an online brochure that, it just kind of makes your PDFs a little bit fancier to look at. It looks and feels like an actual brochure. So send them something like this, create your own. There's another website that I often recommend. It's called breakthroughbroker.com. And they have a PDF template that you can download as well for your listing presentation. I haven't shared that one here, but I've shared it before in the past. So this is something just a little bit newer. So all right, let's talk about the listing presentation. So we've talked now about preparing for the listing presentation. So you've prepared, and you've prepared your potential sellers as well. So now we have the appointment. Don't forget, of course, to go into your CRM and update your activity with this particular client. You are meeting with them for the purposes of a listing pitch. So go ahead and enter that into the CRM, and off you go to your listing presentation. So what should you be bringing with you? You definitely want to bring your CMA. So that was the comparables that you pulled, whether or not you created the free version of the CMA or whether you created top CMA. And I think I have a question here about top CMA. So there's a free trial, but it does cost, I believe, around $30 a month. So worth it if you're going to be doing these, but start with the free one. But definitely, if you're going to go on a presentation, download the free version and put that together because it is more interactive. So definitely you want to be bringing that with you. And in addition to that, I'm going to recommend that you bring 3 active listings, 3 sold listings, and 3 terminated listings. The reason for that is because you want to be showing them 3 active listings because that's your competition. If you were to list tomorrow, this is what you're up against. So buyers are going to be looking at your property, and property theirs is probably theirs as well. So printing out 3 active properties, 3 sold, of course, that's going to give you your comparables. And then for 3 terminated listings shows you probably what was listed too high and what you want to stay away from, right? So 3 of those, 3 active, 3 sold, and 3 terminated. In addition to that, you want to bring your listing presentation. So this is what you prepared, very similar to that seller's guide. Print it out, have it in a binder, definitely have it saved on a laptop. And, here's where you're going to follow their lead, right? So oftentimes you're going to show up to this listing presentation. They're going to welcome you into their home. They're going to give you a tour of the property. And then really, as I said, follow their lead. Sometimes you're going to find yourself sitting at the kitchen table, having a conversation with them. Sometimes they're more relaxed. They're asking if you want coffee or tea. Other times they're more formal and, their arms are crossed and they're expecting the whole show, the whole presentation, in which case you may want to stick to a PowerPoint presentation, something like this. But if they're more informal, more casual, then do have the option of everything printed out so that you can share it with them and be a little bit more interactive. and relax. So really it's up to them, and just follow their lead in how you actually present your listing presentation, which is that seller's guide that I shared with you at the very beginning. Listing agreement, of course, that's the goal here. You want to have that listing agreement signed. So don't forget to bring a blank listing agreement. The MLS data information sheet is also something you're going to need signed by them, but it is a long form with a lot of information. So just get the listing agreement signed. Let them know that the MLS data information sheet, that you'll prepare it and that you'll send it to them for electronic signature after the listing presentation. But definitely get the listing agreement done in person if you can. FinTrack, of course, you want to verify that they are who they say they are. So you want to make sure that you have their photo ID when you're filling in the listing agreement. You want to verify that that's who they are. They are in fact, the owners of the home. Working with a realtor, of course, is a form we need. And then the lockbox. Bring a lockbox with you. I think this is such a power move. If you're attending a listing presentation and you bring the lockbox with you, you've asked them to get a copy of their key. So before you leave, you let them know, while they're out of town in the next couple of days, you're going to show up with your photographer and your stagers, and basically you're going to do all of the work for them. And you're prepared already with that lockbox. And when you leave, you call your sign installer to go and put a for sale sign outside if it is a freehold property. A little bit trickier if it's a condo. So definitely that's what you want to be bringing with you. So you've got those materials with you. Let's talk about what it is that you're showing them. So in addition to that listing presentation or that seller's guide from before, you want to show them what the benefits are of listing with you as a Zolo agent. So definitely go into your CRM and show them, maybe pull up a property that is similar to theirs. So again, if it's a condo, hopefully there are several other condos in the building that are similar. You can pull up that MLS number in your reverse search, and you can show them that there are people looking at those other condos, those other listings, and show them that you actually have a list of buyers. So the reverse search, you can find it in your CRM under tools, and it says reverse search. And this really should only be used for listing presentations such as this, because every realtor attends a listing presentation and guarantees or promises that they have a list of active buyers who are looking for, condos similar to theirs, but that may or may not be true. Here we can actually verify that what we're saying is true. We do have a list of buyers and we do have a way of contacting them. So these are people who have searched for, the condo down the hall from you or the condo upstairs from you. They're looking at this condo. So I'm able to reach out to them and let them know that your condo is coming up next week. And maybe we sell it before it even hits the market, right? So you do actually have a list of buyers. So show that to them during the listing presentation. All right, the other thing you definitely want to talk to them about is the featured listings on the Zolo website are Zolo listings. So it doesn't matter price point. If somebody's looking in Toronto, the Zolo bot is going to sort these properties by recommended properties. And which properties is it going to recommend? Well, the Zolo listings. So again, it doesn't matter what their price point is. As you can see here, the first 3 properties that Zolo is recommending in Toronto really has nothing to do with price point. We've got one for $940,000 and one for $279,000, and they're featured simply because they have been listed with Zolo. So a great reason why to list with Zolo for sure. You get that extra exposure. Okay. All right, yeah, we'll talk about staging in just one second. Oftentimes you're going to get the question of commission. So lots of ways on how to handle this question. What is your commission? Standard in Toronto is 5%, where it's 2.5% for the listing agent, 2.5% for the cooperating agent. So talking to them about that, of course, you might get questions about whether or not you'll reduce your commission. And it's up to you, but really, take the opportunity to show them that you can negotiate. And, maybe if you are going to reduce your commission, it's in exchange for something. So maybe if they're also looking to buy, have that listing agreement with you, and also have a buyer representation agreement, so that if you do decide to reduce your commission to, let's say, 2%, you're also getting a commitment from them that they're going to use you as their buyer's agent. So, instead of just dropping the commission without anything in exchange, maybe using that as a tactic. So another thing that you might want to do as well is just shift the conversation to them. So instead of you stating what it is that you need to earn, what about turning the conversation and asking them what they need to net, right? And this is really a good way to make it about them, because really it is about them. It's their home that they're selling. What is it that you need to to net. So what is more important, the commission that you will pay or the net proceeds that you will receive at closing? And have a conversation with them about that. There are tools online that you can use. This one I pulled up, it's called wowa.ca, WOWA.ca. And you can punch in here a sold price, an example of what they might get for their condo, and what the commission would be and what they will receive, what they will net. So there are fancier calculators than this that show you the land transfer tax and all kinds of things. But this one was pretty simple. Closing costs of $30,000, you will receive $471. There was a breakdown in there, so you can talk to your clients about this. Work with them on that. That's how you really become a listing agent, a specialist in listing properties, is if you work with your clients, you understand what it is that they want what they need, and then you price the property accordingly, so you're still earning, hopefully, your full commission. So definitely talking to them about that. All right, let me see what questions I have coming in. Okay, so yeah, we've got questions about staging. Okay, listings have become so competitive and most of the agents are offering free staging. So how do we handle the cost of staging if it's a Zolo lead? So just so you know, yeah, if it's a Zolo lead and you have a listing, they do contribute, I believe it's $250 towards whatever it is, towards the photos, towards staging. So that's something that, just make sure that you have the receipt for it and you can send it to the deals department. So that's something that might help out a little bit. I know it's hard with staging, because it can become quite costly. I know there are agents here at Zolo who actually offer it themselves, and that's probably the best way to do it in a cost-effective way is, if you offer staging, or reach out to your fellow Zolo agents and see who does staging, because in terms of a special deal, that will be up to you to kind of reach out to stagers in your in your area, and asking them if you guys can work together. So reach out also here. Again, there are Zolo agents who do have staging business. They often do it for their own listings, but maybe you can work out a deal with somebody from Zolo. All right. All right. Do we have a Zolo bulk rate? No, we don't have any sort of vendor list for all of the agents, just because we have such a wide territory. So definitely reach out, ask in the workplace group. I think that's probably the best starting point. So hopefully now that you have completed your listing presentation, you've met with them in person, they've liked what you had to say, you negotiated your commission, and you're at that listing agreement stage. So a couple of things here, make sure that you have the seller's initial. You can actually have them initial both of these circles. So yes, it is going to go on MLS. So you're going to have them initial that, but maybe the property won't be ready for a couple of weeks. So you also want them to authorize you to exclusively promote their property. So have them initial here, and then just specify dates underneath. So maybe from now until 2 weeks from now, it's an exclusive listing agreement. And in 2 weeks from now, you're going to list it on MLS, right? So you have 2 weeks to paint the property. They're going to declutter. They're going to, just stage it if you want to stage it. So just having them initial both circles so that you also are authorized to exclusively promote it. So this is going to be between Zolo and the sellers. And then of course you want to determine a price. So, you can enter that here and then they can sign it on the last page. The other document that I mentioned before is this MLS data information form. So again, you can see, even just the first section, look, you can tell already this is going to be a lot to enter, a lot of information to input. So it's not something you want to be doing at the kitchen table with your sellers there. So, just make sure that you let them know what this is and that you'll be filling out the information. You'll probably have some questions for them, maybe maintenance fees, taxes from the last year, those sorts of things. So they'll have to provide you with some information as you're filling this out, but that's something that you can do after the listing appointment. Just make sure that you're using the appropriate form. This last one that I just showed, this is for a condo. And of course, there's a different form for freehold. So just make sure that you're doing that. You're using the right form, and then yes, again, just a reminder to come back into your CRM, and now you have a listing agreement signed. So go once again into your client's profile in the CRM, and you're updating your activity now with an agreement, and you've had them sign a listing agreement. So that's very exciting. So what do we do next? We talk about marketing the property, because we need to prepare the property before we actually list it on MLS. So before I show you how to upload your own listings, let's quickly talk about marketing the property. So what should you be doing first? We had this question come in about staging. So reach out to stagers in your area, ask them if, you guys can work together. Maybe they can offer you some sort of a discount. But just know that there are a couple of things here that stagers offer. They may come in and they may just do a consultation. And maybe that's what you offer for free, because oftentimes that's $200. A stager will come in and provide your sellers with a consultation and just let them know, maybe remove this, maybe add this, so if you don't want to incur the cost of actually staging the property, perhaps, the stager can give your seller some guidance. And actually, the stager can also act as a bit of a mediator. If there is something that's just hideous that you hope, the seller removes, instead of you being the bad guy, you can ask the stager to point that out to them. So yeah, having that stager come in for a consultation is a good idea, but definitely encouraging your clients to stage the property. And yes, some listing agents will offer this for free. Some agents I know do this themselves. They have, a few items that they can bring into the home, but really showing them the importance and the difference between a property that is staged and isn't staged. These are two photographs of the exact same living room. As you can see on the left, it was a bachelor pad. There was the projector propped up on the popcorn box, and the projector was down, or the screen was down. So here all she did is the stager came in and she just rearranged things. It was just the same couch. It was the same chair, I believe. Yeah. And all she did was just add some art, open the windows, add some natural light, hide those cords. So just a little bit of, a little bit of staging goes a long way. Same property. And as you can see here, one photo was taken with a cell phone and one photo was taken professionally. So again, huge difference, making sure that you really offer that photography service as part of your listing package. And hopefully, you can work with a stager who gives you a good price as well. All right. So of course, once you have it listed on MLS, you will have a feature sheet that's generated from MLS. Of course, I encourage you guys to create a feature sheet that is a little bit more branded to you or to Zolo. So there's lots of different examples that I can share with you on that. But definitely you want to make sure that you have your for sale sign, so that if it is a freehold property, you can post that in front of the property with a coming soon sign, and hopefully that starts generating some leads for you. Open houses, we're not really doing open houses right now, but you might offer this in your listing presentation as something that you do. Maybe you're going to do a virtual open house, right? So people who want to take a look at the property, you can do a walkthrough. Maybe it's part of your photography package. If you've hired a company to do the professional photos, oftentimes they'll also do the virtual tour. And again, you can do the voiceover. You can be in the property talking about the different features. So it'll all really come down to you and to price point. Yeah, really you can create these virtual tours now in the absence of open houses. All right, so here's some marketing materials. Reach out to Sidekicks Media. They have a bunch of samples like this. Alessandra is an agent here at Zolo, and this is a postcard that they created for her. She also has, I believe, just sold postcards. So once the property has sold, she's still generating these flyers or these postcards to generate more business. So, if it's sold for over ask in a very short amount of time, make sure that you're highlighting that. So definitely reach out and speak to Sidekicks Media about setting up your marketing materials when you have a listing. And again, it doesn't have to be expensive. Direct mail can definitely be pricey. So maybe what you do is you have that, pick your neighbor idea or program where you literally door knock the neighborhood. You let the neighborhood know that you have a listing coming up, and maybe you're handing out the flyers, individually to just the neighborhood, just a few kind of blocks around the property, saving yourself the cost. So yes, it's a little bit more manual, but it saves you the cost of direct mail. All right, if you are conducting open houses, this is a sign-in sheet. You definitely want to be keeping track of people, keeping track of their information, because hopefully they do end up as leads for yourself. But again, right now we're not really doing open houses. So once you're ready, once you've prepared everything, you have, staged the home, you've got your photos from the photographer, then you're ready to upload your listing. So you would be logging into Treb, and once again, you've got this sidebar over here, and you would click on Add Edit. So that's where you go to upload your listings. So click on Add Edit. And that will take you to this page here. And so you can add a listing, you can edit a listing, you can create drafts if you're not quite ready, or you can clone a listing. So if it was previously listed on MLS, you can take that old MLS number and plug it in here, but it's always best to start from scratch. So you want to add a new listing, you'd select condo if this is what we have, for sale or for lease. So it's possible to have a listing for lease. We've just been talking exclusively about for sale properties, but select condo residential, residential condo for sale, and then go ahead, that's the clone listing example, but go ahead and enter in all of the information. So of course, you're going to be taking information from this listing agreement that you have, as well as the MLS data information form. So lots to enter. And you're, of course, uploading all of the photos, all of the virtual tours that you've created for the property. You're going to upload them to the MLS listing. So that will all be active immediately. As soon as you walk through all of the steps in TREB, you'll have your listing live on MLS with an MLS number. So it's very quick for it to appear on Zolo.ca, and then I think it takes just a little bit longer for it to appear on Realtor.ca. So you'll get that internet-wide exposure. I have a question coming in before I get to this one. Yeah, sign installers. So again, just reach out to on Workplace, see who people are using in different areas. Yeah, because it depends on where you are. Some sign installers just specialize in one area over the other. So yeah, reach out in Workplace for sign installers. Last but not least, we do upload our listings here at Zolo, so it's up to you to enter in all the information, make sure it's correct. Because you have access to edit the information that's listed on MLS, please make sure that if you are going to make any changes, that you have this form signed by your seller. So if you're going to amend the listing agreement in any way, if you're going to change the list price, if you're going to extend it for, a month or two, if it hasn't sold for whatever reason, then you must have this form initialed by your sellers before you can make those changes. So just because you have access to it doesn't mean you can just go ahead and make whatever changes you'd like. You must get this form signed by your sellers. So just a reminder on that. And then, yeah, hopefully the showings come in. You would get an email from Schedule Lock, just letting you know your listing is live on TREB. It's all connected. So you wait for that email, and then you follow the prompts in Schedule Lock to enter in, of course, the showing instructions. So as soon as showings are requested through TREB, they will, they can request their showing online, and you want to make sure that you have instructions entered in there. So when are showings going to be allowed? Is it going to be, Monday to Friday from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., or is it going to be restricted? So letting them know what the lockbox code is, where the lockbox is located. Hopefully it's easy, it's on the front door, but sometimes in condo buildings, they'll have an area where you've got the lockboxes. So just put clear instructions so it's really easy for them to show, and as a result, easy for them to submit an offer, right? If they were able to show the property, hopefully you have a few offers come in. So let's talk about that. Of course, making sure that once you do receive an offer, you are notifying your seller right away that you've received an offer. And you may want to just forward the offer to them and let them know, highlight the price, the closing date, the conditions, and anything else that they're asking for, right? Are they asking for the inclusions that you've set out in the MLS listing? So it might be, typically it's the stainless steel appliances, the washer and dryer, electronic light fixtures, but maybe they're asking for something extra. Maybe they want that chandelier, maybe they want the window coverings that you weren't going to include. So make sure you're really looking at that. And if they're asking for any repairs, make sure that you're reading their Schedule A. So are they asking for the tile to be fixed in the kitchen, right? Are they asking for a longer closing date? You asked for your preferred closing date, but they've given you a different one. Are there any conditions in there, such as conditional on selling their home? All of those things need to be highlighted in your email. And then of course, your seller has the option of accepting the offer, rejecting it outright if the price is way too low, or of course, countering it. If you do have multiple offers, again, I'm not going to talk about this too much because there's, it's a whole other topic, but you may want to email your client, we've received an offer, here's the summary. This is the purchase price, this is their deposit, this is their closing date, and this is the condition, right? You attach the offer, you schedule a time to have a conversation with your client, maybe you're meeting in person to discuss the offer that way. And again, if there are other offers, you can simply, lay it out in a way that's really easy for your client to look at and consider. All right. So yeah, hopefully you're able to hopefully you're able to just accept it. But there may be things in there that your seller doesn't like, which is fine. Then if you've done transactions before when you've been on the buying side, then you know how this goes. So then you're countering the offer with whatever it is that the seller would like to see. But make sure that it's hopefully it's something that's reasonable and not something that's going to be just a petty deal breaker. So hopefully you have people who are willing to work together. And if you are in multiple offer situation, really the key thing that I'll mention here is you definitely want to make sure that you are disclosing at all points the numbers of offers that you have in hand, when you will be presenting, whether or not maybe you're going to be offering a second round to people, or if they should be coming in with their best and final. So, really making sure that your instructions are clear and that you're staying in touch with people, so that everybody is informed on the situation and how you're going to handle it. But hopefully at the end of all of this, you do get an accepted offer, and your sellers are happy and you're happy, and you're able to send out those, just sold postcards, and you're able to put that sold sign on your for sale sign outside of the property. So hopefully, yes, you have sold the property. Of course, there are things that you need to do for closing. You need lawyers' information, right? You need the mortgage broker's information. You're basically just sending the fully executed, accepted offer to whichever lawyer they choose and to their mortgage broker, so they have it, in addition to the MLS listing from TREB. So you're passing that off, and really the lawyers take over from there. Of course, having said that, this is assuming a firm offer. If there were conditions, then you do have to wait the 5 days, if that's what you've agreed to, for the buyer to confirm their financing, their inspection, if that's what they're going to do. And in that case, you're waiting for hopefully a notice of fulfillment before that offer firms up. So yes, definitely a couple of things that happen once the offer has been accepted. But let me know if you have questions, because I know that's from start to finish, that's a lot. Let me see if I missed any questions coming in here. So yes, we talked about stagers. Okay. Perfect. All right. So let me know if you guys have any questions. If not, then hopefully that was helpful. If you guys want a copy of my the seller's guide, then let me know, and I'm happy to share that with you. All right. Yeah. Did you want a screenshot of which slide? Let me know, and I'm happy to do that. Yeah, if you do want a copy of that seller's guide, I'm just going to put in my email here, jane.stevens@zolo.ca. You're right. Sorry, I think I mentioned land transfer tax. Yes, no, that's paid by the buyer. Yeah, sorry, my mistake. Yeah, so any other questions? Excellent. Okay, well, good. Thanks so much, you guys. Yes, happy holidays. I hope you all stay safe. I'll be back tomorrow with a new agent webinar. We'll be talking about web forms. So if you're still having questions with web forms, we'll do a live transaction so you can see how that all gets sent to the clients for signature, and we'll work through an actual offer. So thanks so much, you guys. Have a great day, and good luck out there. Thanks. Happy holidays.